Digital assets, cryptocurrencies, blockchain. These are terms that are bandied about by market participants this year and in past years. I'm Jamie Cain, and I'm here with Ben Marzouk, and we're from Eversheds Sutherland in our Washington office. And we're here to talk about asset management regulation in 2020 and FinTech initiatives. Most of the activity in the asset management space over the last few years has focused on cryptocurrencies. There was a lot of debate as to what those assets were, whether or not they were securities, which have largely been resolved by the CFTC and the SEC. However, there are still issues that remain, including how to value such assets if they're invested in by a fund, and also how to custody those and protect from risk of loss. One of those issues, valuation, seems to have come to some resolution with the Division of Investment Management announcing at the end of last year that a fund would be allowed to pursue a Bitcoin investment strategy using Bitcoin futures as a method for valuation, something that the SEC thinks will go a long way in addressing concerns about valuation and market manipulation. However, there are other assets classes that also suffer from some of the same concerns by regulators. Ben?
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. And one of those asset classes is digital asset securities, which when the regulators refer to it, typically means traditional cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin or a digital representation of a traditional physical security certificate. And the main issue with digital asset securities the regulators are focused on is the custody of those digital assets. The SEC and FINRA issued a joint statement over the summer of 2019 focused on that very issue. And with the custody of digital assets, what the regulators are focused on is how that private key associated with the digital asset is actually stored and verified. In addition, the regulators are focused on initial coin offerings, which got a lot of negative attention in 2017 and 2018 with a great amount of fraud and manipulation associated with those offerings. This continues to be an issue and has taken the form of initial exchange offerings in addition to your typical ICO. The main test under this is whether or not the coin offering needs to be registered as a security with the SEC. And for that, the regulators are focused on the Howey test, which is a Supreme Court case from the 1940s concerned about orange groves. And for the Howey test, what the regulators focus on is whether or not there's an investment of money with the reasonable expectation of profits derived from the efforts of a third party. So that's the test that regulators use to determine whether or not those ICOs need to be registered as securities. In addition, the regulators in 2020 are going to be focused on blockchain, which is gaining increased use in the financial services and asset management industries. And the issues here have to do with whether or not it's a permissioned or non-permissioned blockchain or distributed ledger system. In addition, the SEC issued a no-action letter to Paxos recently, and that granted the ability for Paxos to clear and settle traditional securities transactions over a distributed ledger blockchain system on a de minimis basis. So this did provide some relief and some regulatory flexibility to allow blockchain technology to gain more of a foothold in the financial services industries.
And while we've talked a little bit about the concerns that regulators have had with the use of technology in terms of investments and the issues that surround FinTech, there is a lot of positive development that's also out there. Regulators are looking at FinTech solutions in terms of advice to clients and whether or not robo-advice is a more appropriate way to determine whether or not investments and investors are properly matched with one another. How do you determine whether or not anti-money laundering and know your customer requirements have been met, and also using FinTech solutions as a mechanism for assuring that compliance is actually taking place. Thank you for joining us. For more information on asset management regulation in 2020 and other bottom line videos, please visit eversheds-sutherland.com.